Good morning, everybody. I said good morning, everybody. That's more like it. I'm David Silverman, President of American Atheists and proud chair of the Reason Rally Coalition, and I would like to welcome you all to this, the largest atheist gathering in world history. We are here to celebrate secular values, those values which we accept as Americans but have no religious basis: diversity, equality, charity, compassion, and reason, just to name a few. Nationwide, the non-religious population is both the fastest growing and the most despised. I ask you all, why is that? Why are we hated when we endorse no violence, incite no racism or hatred, and demand nothing more than equal treatment? I'll tell you why. It's easy to hate what you don't know, and the theists don't know us. Well, actually, they do know us, but they don't know they know us, because most atheists in this country are closeted. Bigotry is born of ignorance, but ignorance can be cured. If the atheists weren't closeted, it would be harder to hate us, because in the end, you can't hate what you already love. We could make a thunderous noise, yet we are defeated by our own silence. We are the fastest growing in all 50 states, but we think we are alone. We are weak only because we think we are weak. The bad news is it's our fault. The good news is it's under our control. We can choose to be loud. We can choose to be proud. And we can choose to be part of the organized movement designed to take this country into a future of true equality, respect, and yes, even love from our community. That is the purpose of the Reason Rally. The sponsors of this event are as diverse as you are. Whether you're a hardliner like me or an accommodationist, if you prefer to support politics or charity or students or military or even little kids, no matter how you define yourself, you will be able to find an organization here that suits you. Join them. Lend your voice to this movement and be heard. Make sure nobody who knows you thinks they don't know any atheists.
In my kind of coming out as an atheist and realizing, coming to terms that that's what I was, I realized that I wasn't necessarily tied to any certain set of moral codes. So the one big thing that I did was denying the Holy Spirit. And the second that I realized that, hey, this is the one-way ticket to hell, it was like a weight had been lifted off my chest. I'm like, nobody is striking me down with lightning. I'm free to think for myself, to make my own decisions, and things that I very much disagree with. For example, homosexuality is wrong, where many people would point to insert holy book here. Now I can make those decisions based on the evidence around me, and to not have to stick to some holy text or preset law. We're actually thinking critically about it, and I think that that's better for humanity in the long run. I know myself coming from a very conservative religious community and not knowing any atheists for a long time. Even when I moved to Columbus, Ohio, which is a pretty big city, I didn't realize that there were like-minded people. But once I slowly got comfortable with the idea of being atheist, first I came out online, not on Facebook, but I got involved in online discussions, and then eventually would start talking to my closest friends, and then my family, and then maybe my acquaintances, and then lastly my coworkers. Coming out at first seemed really, really hard, just because I didn't know anybody. But once you start talking to people, you realize that you really aren't alone, and there are other people out there.
This prejudice that many Americans have against atheists and humanists is unfair, irrational, and has to stop. It's time we come out of the closet and gain respect, and we're by no means the first to face this kind of challenge. Back in 1978, Proposition 6 was the ballot measure in California aimed at preventing gay people as serving as public teachers. Harvey Milk said the following on election night: "To the people who joined us and rejected Proposition 6, we owe them something. We owe to continue the education campaign that took place. We must speak out. And most importantly, every gay person must come out. As difficult as it is, you must tell your immediate family. You must tell your relatives. You must tell your friends if they are indeed your friends. You must tell your neighbors. You must tell the people you work with. You must tell the people in the stores you shop in. And once they realize that we are indeed their children, that we are indeed everywhere, every myth, every lie, every innuendo will be destroyed once and for all." We atheists and humanists must also come out of the closet, clearly stating that we don't rely on a higher power to govern our lives. And you've taken the first step being here. This is our coming out party.
I think the worst and perhaps most damaging advice I ever gave was to Jake Shears, who I met when he was 15 years old, and he asked me if he should come out to his parents, and he described, what was going on and who they were and what he thought they might know. And after he told me everything, I was like, oh, they know. They're just waiting for you to tell them. You should tell them. Just come out to them. They're waiting. They're ready. And he came out to them, and they didn't know, and it was a big disaster. And they threatened to pull him out of school, and they were, really angry. And so he called me. I had a radio show then. And he called me, and I got him off the air and got his mother's phone number and called my mother and gave my mother, Jake's mother's phone number, and had my mom call his mom and yell at her. And it helped. But yeah, I gave him some really shitty advice. And that is really shitty advice. There's a lot of bad advice for gay middle schoolers and high schoolers out there, telling them that they should just come out. And not everybody's in a position where that's wise or safe. And we have to tell these gay teenagers to take a cold, hard look at who their families are and where they live before they take that step. Most of the bullied gay kids are kids who can't hide and can't pass for straight. And gay adults need to be careful about telling, as I was not at that moment, telling 15-year-olds to come out. Something like 40% of homeless teenagers are gay and lesbian teenagers who've been thrown out of the house when they were outed or came out. And unless we're willing to take, as a community, financial responsibility for these kids who get thrown out, we just can't glibly tell middle schoolers that they have a responsibility to come out in middle school and make it better for themselves if it really is going to imperil their lives and their futures to do that.
Good day to you. I'm proud to be able to join the recent rally in Washington, D.C. I also believe, like you, that we have to continue our fight for secularism, rationalism, and humanism. We have to make the world a better place. I have come from a country where it is legal to punish people for saying God does not exist. I'm not allowed to hurt anybody's religious sentiments, but religious people have the right to attack my non-religious sentiments. Not only that, they have the right to commit violence against me. I was censored, blacklisted, banned, and banished from my homeland because I said, there is no evidence for God's existence, but there are evidences for evolution. And the universe is neither 6,000 years old, nor was it created in 6 days. I also said, Islam is not compatible with human rights, women's rights, secularism, and freedom of expression. And the Quran was not written by someone who had any knowledge of science. And the Quran, like other religious scriptures, is out of time and out of place. And I confessed that I did not need to read any book on atheism or secularism or humanism to be an atheist. I still believe that for the Muslims, the Quran is the best book that can inspire them to becoming an atheist. I said, the prophet was not a man of good character. Rather, he was a liar, charlatan, sexist, rapist, pedophile, and a killer. I was thrown out of my country because I said, we do not need God to be good, moral, nice, kind, generous, and humane. And we do not need any law based on religion. No Muslim law or Sharia law, no Hindu law, no Christian law, no Jewish law. We need uniform civil code based on equality. I was thrown out of my country because I said, women must not be treated like slaves, sexual objects, and childbearing machines. And rape, domestic violence, sexual abuse, dowry murder, female genital mutilation, slave trade, sex trafficking, sexual slavery must end. Because I said this, I had to leave my country 18 years ago, and I have been prevented from returning to my country.
You're an atheist. Give me a fucking break, Michael. All right, you know what? We need to start going to church every week. I've had it with this.
I don't believe in God.
Bullshit. You got yourself confirmed, and you said to the bishop.
Yeah, a lot can happen. You can think.
Oh, a lot can happen. All of a sudden, you can just quit believing in God?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, there is no God.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you. You want to know there's no God? Then you're going to get absolutely nothing. Nothing for Christmas, because that's what Christmas is about, is Jesus Christ.
So what's it been like after all this time? Even with all of the friends that I've collected, with all the people who reach out with Facebook, and through email, the power of the internet, I'm sorry, but even 10,000 new friends can't replace that one special loved one. Can't do it. But you have to embrace the pain. Because quite honestly, that's not a good enough excuse. It's just not. I've kicked this around in my mind now, and I'm sorry to have you in such a serious mood for the moment, but I've kicked this around in my mind for months. This is an important issue. Let me repeat that, because I feel like I need to start preaching here in a minute. You probably think I already am, but you'll be in for a surprise. You've obviously never attended a Pentecostal church. This wouldn't even make a good testimony. This isn't just an important issue. This is the issue. This is the issue of our moment in time. This is our place in history. You're not building groups, you're changing the globe. I'm going to say it again. You're not building groups. You're not just creating some club. This is not just some social network that is passing its way through time. It's not just some form and fashion, but this is actually an intellectual, right, revolution that is taking place within our culture. This isn't just a moment. This is the moment. This is the moment that if you're ever going to find strength, if you're ever going to do anything, if you're ever going to be significant to more than just your immediate circle, this is the moment for you to find your strength. This is the moment for you to face your fears head on. This is the moment to admit to yourself, yes, this is not always a pleasant process. But if that little Pentecostal preacher from the backwaters of Louisiana can somehow risk and lose everything, then you should say to yourself, I can embrace the pain. Because this is what we're called to do. Not called by some deity somewhere, some authoritative force that is somehow shaping history for their own purposes. This is a call that is in the hearts of humanists. This is what happens when people, through the power of knowledge, through the power of the internet, begin to realize that a skeptical nature is our nature. That is what has brought the human species to this place in time. This is where we begin to understand that free thought is not a new concept. This is our concept. This is what it means to be a true and honest human being, is to walk out. And as Brian brought up earlier this morning, to look at the house of culture and say, yes, it appears to be blue, but I'm going to take for granted it's only blue on this side because I haven't seen all the sides yet. I haven't seen all the sides of culture. I haven't seen all the sides of possibility. And the great thing about making this process, the great thing about moving through this process and embracing the pain is that you haven't seen all the sides of you yet. You don't know what's possible in your life. And we don't know what's possible for America and for the rest of this planet. We don't even know what types of governments are possible because we're still tied down and fettered by religion. But once we're free from that, once we're able to truly have free thought, making its way throughout civilization, then these things that seem to be impossible to answer, those questions can be answered. And if you don't answer it, then you're going to help the person who does. Because whether you end up with 5,000 friends on Facebook, or whether you end up being seen on YouTube by 100,000 people or not, that doesn't matter. Because every person who embraces their pain moves civilization one step further, because the next generation stands on our shoulders, and it's easier for them, and it's less painful. And one day, you mark my words, one day they will talk about this generation, and they will talk about the culture that we had to work against. And it will be a smirk and a grin on the face of every historian. Can I get a Darwin?
So, why should we band together? Why should people who are based on a negative, there is no God, band together? Why should people who might be left, might be right, might be in the middle, have no political or moral or philosophical agreement, band together? Because the simple fact that there's no God does matter. And the simple fact that there are atheists in the United States of America matters. And we need to be counted. We need to be a minority that has some guts and some power, and we need to make it okay to be an atheist. And the way to do that is to band together. Even if our politics and our morality and our philosophy are different, we have to band together and simply say, some of us in this country believe there is no God, because there is no God. So let's make it so politicians cannot trash us. Let's make it so they're as embarrassed to say something bad about atheists as they are to say something bad about Mormons. 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 Now, as crazy as you people are, as hated as you are by your neighbors, as powerless as you are, you need to have more respect in the United States of America than Mormons. Let me show you my atheist underwear. No, I won't show you my atheist underwear. I don't have special magic underwear, but I do have underwear with the Incredible Hulk on it. I do. I have underwear with the Incredible Hulk on it. And if someone who wears Mormon magic underwear can be respected in the United States of America, then certainly someone like me, someone like you, who's wearing Hulk underwear can do okay.
You have to come out from a position of strength, and you have some security. And I get grief because I tell kids who are in college, whose parents are paying for college, who would cut them off to wait. Wait till the last check clears in your senior year, and then come out. Yeah. That said, you can sometimes gay people will underestimate their families because they want to justify their own cowardice. Some people don't come out to their families when they could, and their families would be supportive, and the gay person is just afraid, and they inflate, they exaggerate their family's homophobia in a self-serving way as an excuse never to come out. When I meet a 30-year-old who's not out to their family, it's always that their family is so homophobic, and really what's going on there is that that gay person is a chicken shit and a coward, and so they make their families out to be these monsters that they're not necessarily, and so they don't ever have to like live with some integrity and honesty and ethics, and I have no sympathy for those people.
But remember, your coming out conversations are not about proving to some jerk on the internet that they're wrong. Your coming out conversations are about letting the people in your life who care about you know that you're going to be okay. They're about reassuring them. So it's okay to stand up for yourself. In fact, I encourage you to stand up for yourself. But remember, the person you're coming out to is somebody who presumably cares about you and presumably you care about them. Don't treat them as adversaries. And related to that, know when to stop the conversation. If the conversation is going south, you may need to cut it off and come back to it at another time. Again, coming out is can be a long process. Also, very importantly, to the degree that you can, have your practical and financial ducks in a row first. If you're a college student, anybody here a college student? If you're a college student and your parents are supporting you, you might consider waiting to come out to them until after you're out of college and they're not supporting you anymore. If you're coming out at work and coming out might endanger your job, make sure you can handle that financially first. If you're in a very religious community and coming out might isolate you, find an atheist community first and put down roots in it so you won't be isolated. Make sure that your ducks or practical and financial ducks are in a row first. But there's limits to this advice. If you wait to come out until everything is perfectly safe and no bad thing can possibly happen, you are going to wait a very long time. It's important to remember that coming out does mean accepting some risk. But there's a flip side to that, which is that staying in the closet also means risk. For one thing, there's a very specific risk that staying in the closet means, which is the risk that you will be outed by somebody else, either accidentally or intentionally. And being outed is a lot more traumatic than coming out yourself when you can control the timing and control the conversation. And staying in the closet also involves living a lie, and that's a risk. There's stress involved. There's real traumatic stress involved in living a lie for your whole life. So when you're doing that cost-benefit analysis about being out versus being in and where you're going to be on that continuum, remember, neither choice is risk-free. You're taking a risk no matter what. Very importantly, speaking of having your financial ducks in a row, if you're coming out at work, get familiar with non-discrimination laws, both federally and at your local level. And if you do get discriminated against, document it. Actually, it's a really good idea to document your work situation before you come out. If you've been getting good feedback at your workplace, document it, because that way, if you do come out and automatically, mysteriously, you get fired or you get harassed, you have a much better case if you want to make a stink about it. Also, when you come out at your job, it's a really good idea to think strategically about who to come out to first. Think about who in your workplace, first of all, has some degree of authority, and second of all, is somebody who you think might be sympathetic, might be an ally. Now, authority does not have to mean your boss. Authority can mean somebody in human resources. It can mean somebody in the legal department. It can even just mean somebody who people look up to at the office, even if they don't have any official authority. And likely to be supportive doesn't have to mean, I think they're an atheist. Likely to be supportive can be somebody who has a track record of caring about fair play, somebody who has a track record of caring about the law, even just somebody who has a track record of really not wanting the company to get sued and get bad PR. These people can be your allies. figure out who they are, come out to them first. Identify who they are, come out to them, give them a chance to get used to the idea, get them on your side, and then start coming out to other people. And actually, that is a principle that we can apply in our personal lives as well as our work lives. You don't have to make one big coming out announcement to everybody at once on Facebook. If you think that, you know, your mom's going to handle it better than your dad, or vice versa, you know, come out to the one who you think is going to be on your side first. Queer people have a long history of coming out to mom first. You know, if you think your siblings will handle it better than your parents, if you think your roommate will handle it better than your best friend, come out to them first. This gets you allies who you can get support from if you have a hard time later. And it also just gets you practice. It gets the feeling of coming out familiar.
Please welcome Hemant. It's not racist. He's from another land, and I'm stupid. Hemant Mehta, please welcome Hemant Mehta. I tried, man. Thank you.
Thank you, Prawl. You're all getting debaptized tonight. All right, so, hi, heathens. It has taken a lot of people, a lot of years to put this event together. I hope you all have a great time. But if you go home with something to take, without something to take back with you, this will have been for nothing. You guys know the statistics. We are the least trusted, the least electable minority group in this country, but we can change that. So let me suggest a few ways that we could do that. And if you take me seriously, we can make a profound difference in how atheists are perceived and treated in America. Number one, run for public office. Do you want your child's school district to be run by creationists? Do you want your health care in the hands of legislators whose faith tells them women shouldn't have total control over their bodies? Do you want a congressperson who believes we live in a Christian nation, or a senator who created the U.S. Office of Alternative Medicine? Then get on the ballot. You don't need to run for president. You don't even need to run for Congress right now, but run for city council. Run for your local school board. Run for class president if you're in college or high school. If your city has a dog catcher election, do that. We need more rational thinkers in public office, people who know how to tell truth from fiction and ask good questions and think critically. Pete Stark needs some company. And if we don't run for office, the religious right will. Number two, support your local free thought communities. There is strength in numbers, and we have the numbers, but you would never know it if you go to a lot of meetups. And we can raise awareness that we're out there. We could put up billboards, we could let people know we're good without God, we can volunteer for local charities that need the support, and we can lobby all those politicians who care more about the Bible than the Constitution. But we cannot do it alone. If you don't have a local group, start a local group. We can't grow the movement if people don't know we're out there. Next thing, we have to let people know we're atheists, like Dave said. I know that's easier said than done. I remember when I applied for my first job, I removed every reference to atheism when I submitted my resume. I didn't think I would get the job if they knew the truth about me. But not every conversation has to begin with, "Hi, I'm Hemant and I'm an atheist." And not every declaration of disbelief has to be a big deal. When all of you are on the flight back home or the train ride back home, and the person next to you asks you why you were in DC, tell them you were at a rally with thousands of other atheists. And then say it with a smile. If you're on a date and religion comes up, tell the person you're with that you don't believe in God, and then carefully watch for the reaction. That's just good life advice right there. You don't have to yell, you don't have to scream, you don't have to type in all caps. You just have to be honest about who you are. And if you do it, you'll help other people do it too.
Because this is our community. I mean, it's nice. We often feel isolated and as though we're the only ones who believe or don't believe as we do, and it's really empowering to come out and be in a crowd of this many people knowing that we're all here to support each other and that there's not anything to be scared of.
I never really realized that there were so many secular humanists or atheists or whatever you want to call them in the area. I seem just to be surrounded by a lot of religious people. I never really meet anyone else that's like me.
It's just I can go back and say 10,000, 20,000, or 5,000 people anyway had the courage to come out and just say, there I am.
And it's nifty that people come together from all kinds of different organizations. There's the atheist group, there's the Freedom from Religion Foundation, there's the American Humanist Association, the American Secular Association, the Secular Students Alliance, many, many more.
That old adage, you can't herd cats, well, we have proven today you can herd cats, and you can herd them with passion and energy and under the big tent of reason.
This is really cool. I'm amazed at how many people are here, and everyone's been so nice and so much fun to be around. Everyone's so polite. It's not this evil atheist image that you get, in the general public at all.
You're with not 100 people, you're with thousands of people who are saying, there's no God. I don't believe in God, and I'm prepared to say this is who I am.
It's something that in 10 years we're going to look back on and say this was the beginning or the real start of a movement of people identifying as atheists proudly, confidently.
This gathering is an amazing amount of people that prove we are no longer a minority. We are edging our way to majority status.
Mormons.